Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining me today for your online coffee break. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce my special guest, Chris Lane, the guitarist for the rock band Station. Chris co-founded Station in 2011, along with vocalist Patrick Kearney. The band, which also includes members Asta and Tony Baptist, has been branded by Guitar World magazine as the new wave of classic rock. Chris joins me today to discuss the band's upcoming fourth album, Perspective.
Online coffee break.
Chris, thanks so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I tell you, it is an honor and a pleasure. You guys are on a roll. You're about to release your fourth album, Perspective. Comes out October 8th. You've given us all a preview of this album already. Follow them on Spotify, people. Chris, I love it. All I can say is, I believe.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Man, it's seriously awesome new music. Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it so far. And, can't wait to the full album release. When Perspective comes out, what can we expect?
Well, there are 10 tracks on the album, so there'll be more kind of music videos to come after that. And one of the things that we try to do is we try to make, we kind of view our albums as kind of like a book or a novel. And, they've got different chapters, right? And different chapters are different feels and vibes and things like that. So we kind of treat each song as its own little entity. So they'll, with other music videos, there'll be very different styles of music videos, maybe slightly more cinematic and things like that, just express the song a little better.
I think that sounds great. Now, I do want to go back because you guys formed, I think, in 2011. So it's been 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, I met Pat on September 11th of 2010.
Really? I was going to ask, what brought you guys together?
So we were both in different bands, and I think his band broke up like formally, whereas I was like kind of working with a singer and just never got off the ground.
Yeah.
And one day I found a online profile account of his, like a classified ad, and I saw him performing with his old band, and very different style of music. It was super like metal with like rap mixed in, very much not what we do.
Yeah.
But I could tell he could sing. And so, out of just pure, like taking a chance, I got on the phone with him, and it's like, I usually tell people it was kind of like us running towards each other, like in slow motion with like Chariots of Fire playing.
Yep.
And, just because our musical taste and our vision just completely aligned, it was like talking to ourselves, you know what I mean? So we scheduled to meet up, and the two guys that I had planned to come with, a bassist, a drummer, they didn't show up, which actually was perfect because it gave Pat and I a chance to just kind of bond. And we went out to lunch afterwards, and it was just like, well, we got to do this. And we're still doing it,
Oh man, I that's so cool. What I love too, kind of a neat trivia piece, is just how you guys came up with the name Station. I'm a big fan of this, but I'm not going to spoil it. Can you kind of share that story with our audience?
Yeah, well, so the hardest part about playing in a band is naming it. It's just hands down, it's the worst thing because, there's so many different things. It's like, do you want the name to reflect what kind of music you play? And if it doesn't, how do you kind of get around that? Like, I always think of like Poison, right? Like if you just completely by itself heard the name Poison, I would expect something very different than the band. But now it's come to be synonymous. So after like a million emails and ideas and all these things back and forth, I was watching Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And the name of one of their band members in the Alien is Station. And right. When I hear that for the first time in the Station, I was just like, I think I have it. It's like one of those, and we talked about it and it was like, all right, this is good. Now, had we known about Google and, SEO and how easy it is to find one on the internet, Station probably not as ideal, but I thought it was cool.
Phrases.
Yeah, right. Good luck finding that a needle, So.
Oh, exactly. Well, I think Station's a great name. I mentioned earlier, this is your fourth album coming out, which I think is incredible. since you guys have had just some amazing hits over the years. I mean, Everything, of course, was your debut single back in, I think, 2012. You came out with that. You got Never Enough. You got I Won't Break Your Heart. Again, I love your sound. You know, you guys really brought what I consider rock and roll back. And I love what Guitar World magazine, you started branding your style as the new wave of classic rock.
Yes.
I think that is so cool. I was just wondering, you know, with your sound, you know, what were some of the bands that inspired you?
You know, it's funny because, you know, when we talk about our influences, they're very much bands that people don't think we sound like. Huh. You know, so for like me, my biggest influence is like the Beatles and Steely Dan and nice. Pink Floyd is a huge one, you know, and I think what we've kind of done is we've kind of taken the things that we like about every band, which is usually that melodic kind of rock and roll vibe, and we've kind of found a production style that we also like, which is a very kind of smooth, very, you know, retro 80s, late 70s, 80s, early 90s feel. Yeah. And we kind of mix those two things together. So it's like a lot of times when people say that, you know, it's like an 80s sounding band, I always kind of say like, isn't it an 80s presented band? Because that's kind of the production style we have. But if you really pay attention to the kind of songs, we're really more of like a 70s power pop kind of band with like the big riff, the big chord, you know, like I think we're closer to that style in like Cheap Trick and Kiss than we are to like a lot of those late 80s, you know, kind of bands. So
I would totally agree with that. Again, I just was driving the other day, had my windows down, cranking music. I just love it. And it brings me back. Plus it's got a fresh feel to it too. That I like. It's fresh. It's fun. It's powerful. It's good. One thing that I did want to talk into, we love talking about, you know, people's musical journeys. And you mentioned some of the people that inspired you, which again, I love it too. I love Beatles and Steely Dan favorites there too. But what was it really that ignited your passion when you were young? You said, okay, this is the direction I want to go.
Direct in the sense of like wanting to be a musician.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we all kind of all four of us got bit by the music bug very early. You know, it comes definitely from your parents by playing music around you, you know, and then, you know, one of the things that Pat and I had, especially kind of like when we got into our teen years, is the internet and, you know, things like VH1 Classic, which would show these rock blocks of videos from like, I don't know, it was like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So what we would do is we would record them and watch them afterwards. And it was music that we weren't getting anywhere else because, you know, like I'm from Long Island and we have like classic rock stations here that'll just, you know, constantly play the Beatles and Rush and Led Zeppelin. And, you know, I knew the Beatles and Rush and Led Zeppelin and Kiss and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything like Whitesnake. I didn't know anything like Judas Priest. So all of a sudden, you know, Iron Maiden, all of a sudden finding this visual component along with the music was just kind of like, this exists? What? You know, like, what else have you been hiding from me kind of thing, you know? And that really informed the kind of the classic sense of the Beatles with the modern, well, not modern, but later sense of Judas Priest. And then, you know, I mean, we grew up in the late 90s, you know, so like I can't form a rock band without knowing who Britney Spears is. Whereas like, you know, someone who came out in 1989 didn't know who Britney Spears was. So, you know, all that stuff just gets into you and it influences you, and like the pop music and the rap music and jazz that comes out at the same time. It's just, we're a product of what we've gone through with that.
Well, it's an excellent product, I must say, a most excellent product, according to Bill and Ted, of course.
There you go.
One thing I love is I hear you guys. I wish I could have seen you in concert because I hear you put in some great, fun, high energy shows. Not to put a negative spin on it, but obviously the pandemic kind of has cut down on shows for everybody. How I kind of love how you guys have reacted to it, but how has that affected sort of you guys? Obviously, you know, you're not playing as much, but how does that affected just, I guess, your new music creation for not being able to go out and perform in front of an audience?
So we have the ability to record independently, and it's something we decided to invest in a while ago, and it was a good move, obviously, with the pandemic, but we're very music heavy people in terms of having a lot of songs. So, you know, we already have another album that we're working on and another album planned after that we're about to start working on. So It's just this constant revolving door of music. So like on that standpoint, the pandemic has given us more time to record music. I don't want to say that's good because I would prefer to not do that last year and a half again, but it is a good thing in the sense of we like output that. The problem for us has been that we don't really do well with like the live stream, not on stage kind of thing. You know, we like the volume and the wind in our hair and the crowd reaction. And, you know, for me personally, like we're going to play a show next month. Actually, I think it's a month from, it's October 22nd. So it's about a month from now. And, you know, that's going to be our first time playing live since March of 2020. And, you know, that is a religious experience for us. I don't know beyond that how much we're going to play live because everything changes by the day. So what we're always looking for is new, fun, creative ways to kind of not replace live, because that'll come back. I mean, like, I don't think it's like gone forever. It's not that, but it's tough for us to kind of like put on the show that we like to play, the fun that we like to have, the energy sterilely without an audience. You know, we need the audience to feed it back to us. And it's just weird sometimes. I mean, I'll use the term weird because like, I mean, I'm the guitar player and like, I can only imagine playing a guitar solo to like no one, you know what I mean? It's just, just weird, you know? So I'm just hoping that live comes back sooner than later.
Oh yeah. You guys are, you know, have hopefully a US tour. I think it's going to be a lot more dates coming in 2022. So definitely something to look forward to.
Where are you located?
I am out of Indianapolis. I'm actually recording out of Florida right now. So I travel a little bit too, but,
well, the next time we actually do like a real formal tour, Florida is somewhere we want to go to. So we should absolutely make sure you get to a show. Oh,
I would love to come see you guys. That would be excellent. And one thing I did too, you alluded to this, is that, you know, a lot of people, when the stereotypical band is like, they form the band and they let somebody else manage it and they're done. But you guys, you got a hands-on approach for management. What brought you into that? It's such a good idea, I think.
Well, you know, I mean, we have a really great team. Like we have a formal manager, Danielle, and she's like, you know, she's our fifth Beatle. And
nice.
Yeah, it's just one of the things that's both unfortunate and fortunate is that we've never had the opportunity to not care about anything but music. Nice. You know, even from the early days, like when we recorded our EP with Michael Wagner in Nashville, you know, we set that up and we worked it out with him. And what we didn't do is we didn't just like show up and be like, we're here to record. So like, you know, we knew I'll say the value of it in the sense that like, we knew like what it cost and we knew what we had to do on the sales side afterwards to recoup that money. And I think that it's made us much more responsible business people in the music industry, but it makes it hard though, because, you know, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say every conversation I want to have with Pat is about a song. You know, I really just want to talk to him about music and, you know, Family Guy. We do have to have meetings that revolve around the cost of touring and the cost of production and, you know, the non-fun stuff, the stuff that you need to have a conversation with to do the fun stuff. It's just the nature of the world we live in. You know, I mean, if it had worked out that there was the ability to just not care about anything else, someone else has got it and just work on music, I would have welcomed that, but it just didn't shake out that way. So it's informed us as people to be more responsible with our business, you know, and our music.
I think that's so important though. I mean, to focus on the business side of things, again, it's so important because I think it's going to makes you better as a band and just, you know, as a person in life, as you're sort of helping control your own destiny, sort of speaking of that. One thing too, speaking of destiny, I guess I'm thinking you guys here are 10 years into it, getting ready for your fourth album coming out. For the aspiring musicians out there, say there's someone out there, they're starting to play guitar and they're like, they want to become, you know, really good at it. What advice would you give them?
I've always kind of had the mentality, and the other three have the same mentality, which is why we work so well together, is we believe in serving the song. It's, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to be a guitar player and learn the guitar, it's great. But if you want to play in a band as a guitar player, you need to know what kind of band you play in and why you play in a band, because you need to work together to serve. It's kind of like a marriage. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a marriage and it's only about you, probably the marriage is not going to work. Or like in, you know, like the military or something, you're part of a unit, you need to function as a unit. Otherwise you don't accomplish an objective. So like for someone who's aspiring to get into a band, you need to really understand why you want to get in the band. And then you also have to come in with a good amount of vulnerability and trust to say like, I will trust that person to do their thing, so that I don't need to think about this thing. Because otherwise, then you're not in a band, you're in a solo project and you're controlling everything.
Right.
So a healthy amount of like vulnerability in music is important because it allows you to really trust your partners and really find out something new about yourself as you function as a team.
That's excellent. Well, Chris, again, we are so excited about Perspective coming out.
Thank you.
Just loving your music. And I just want to just thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me anytime.
Online coffee break.
Well, I really enjoyed my conversation with Chris, and I'm loving the new music by Station. Again, Perspective comes out on October 8th, so make sure to get on Spotify or wherever you download music to be prepared to download that awesome new album. If you'd like to learn more, just go to their website at stationband.com. I want to thank Chris for joining me today. I want to thank you for joining us as well. Again, we really appreciate it if you'd share this episode with a friend, or if you give us a like or a thumbs up, we'd appreciate that too. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless.